Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. Make sure to hit the subscribe, like, and share buttons. As we come to the end of 2023, it's a time to take inventory, to look at the year that has just passed. I think it's a good time to take some perspective on where we've come in the last past year in terms of what sort of stories we've seen, what developments we've seen on the world stage, and how they set the stage for the near fulfillment of the end times prophecies written about in the Bible. Now, Jesus and the prophets told us what certain signs to look for. And we see many of those signs today. And we're going to talk about some of the stories from the past year that helped set the stage for seeing those signs fulfilled. Now, before we get started, I want to reiterate, we're not talking about the rapture. The rapture is a signless event that could happen at any moment. We're talking about the tribulation period, the second coming of Jesus Christ at the end of that 7-year tribulation period in order to establish his millennial kingdom. So there are signs for that Jesus and the prophets said to look for. Jesus said in Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, when you see those signs begin to take place, when you see them appear, then you know that I'm right at the door. Your salvation draws near. And we see those signs today in a way that previous generations simply did not see. So let's take a look back at what's happened in the last year, because I think it puts things in perspective when you step back and think, wow, all these things happen. There's no way we're going to be able to cover everything that happened this year, but I want to talk about some of the more important points, the more important developments that we saw. And so let's start out right now with this one. Obviously, the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel is a major development. Why? Because it involves Israel. Israel is at the center of God's prophetic plan for the end times. Many people have said in the past, if Israel is God's timepiece, it's like the hour hand, and Jerusalem is like the minute hand, and the Temple Mount is like the second hand. Anything that happens in Israel, Jerusalem, or on the Temple Mount has an impact in regard to where we see developments in the end times. And of course, we see Israel under attack. This is something that the Bible told us would happen during these times, that there would be many enemies surrounding Israel, attacking Israel, calling for the elimination of Israel. That's exactly what we see today. And of course, we've seen the world's reaction to this attack, with many saying Israel has no right to exist. Israel has no right to defend itself. We've seen the world divided on this issue, people taking sides on this issue. But guys, God is on Israel's side, no doubt about it. And we see this rise in anti-Semitism that just a few years ago I would have found hard to believe, such as a recent survey we looked at that showed that 20% of those 18 to 29 years old believe the Holocaust is a myth. Let that sink in. Those 65 and older, that percentage was 0, where it should be. But think about that. 1 in 5 18 to 29-year-olds believe the Holocaust is a myth. And I don't think that even accounts for the people who thought that it was overstated. So that's what we're dealing with. And again, that's the youth. So as time goes by, those sentiments are only going to grow. What are they going to be teaching the generation below them? So guys, we see Israel at the center of all of this right now, of the wars and rumors of wars. Will this expand? Will this conflict between Israel and Hamas expand? That remains to be seen, but we do see the table set in such a way that we could see an expansion of this war, and I believe fulfillment of Psalm 83 and Isaiah 17. I believe the two of those go hand in hand. Some people believe those aren't prophecies of future events. That's fine. They have their reasons they believe that. I've stated mine in the past. But we very well could see Hezbollah open up a northern front with Israel. We could see they have capabilities far in excess of what Hamas has. And if there was an all-out war between Hezbollah and Israel, it would be extremely destructive. Given the size of Israel, I can't imagine they would want that to be a protracted conflict. And if necessary, they would end that very quickly, I believe, with weapons of mass destruction. Of course, Isaiah 17 talks about Damascus as a heap of ruins, no longer inhabited, and it's the longest continuously inhabited city on the planet. And so could this be how that happens? Because Damascus is a headquarters for Iran and Hezbollah and many terrorist organizations. So we'll keep our eyes on this going into 2024, because this conflict is really at the center of where we need to be focused right now from a prophetic standpoint because of Israel's involvement. What else did we see in 2023? Well, we also saw the growing BRICS alliance. We saw BRICS grow in influence. We saw them add new members, expand. And we saw, who did we see them add? Well, we saw Iran join. We saw Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Argentina, the UAE, and Ethiopia. Some of these are very significant for many reasons. We now see BRICS has 2 of the 3 largest nuclear arsenals among its membership, with China and Russia. We see 2 of the 3 largest oil producers on the planet in Saudi Arabia and Russia. We see many oil producers like Iran and the UAE, also natural gas producers. We also see Egypt. We've been talking about the problems in the Red Sea and the ability for shipping to traverse the Red Sea. Well, the Suez Canal, what if as part of this de-dollarization effort that BRICS is pushing, what if Egypt decided, well, to go through the Suez Canal, we require payment in gold, right? That would hold the dollar to account. They could push dollars out of these transactions. We see all of these countries, these former OPEC countries that in the past only transacted in dollars for oil and natural gas. They're coming out and saying, well, we'll take other currencies as well. This is the backbone of the petrodollar agreement between Saudi Arabia and the United States that was entered into in the early 1970s. It's really what underpins the US dollar as the world reserve currency and the backbone of international trade. So this significantly erodes the power of the dollar on the world stage. Doesn't eliminate the dollar by any means, but it erodes the power of the dollar. And if the financial power of the United States erodes, their ability to project military power across the globe also erodes. So when we see the petrodollar declining and going away, this is a significant event, because we know that the Bible doesn't talk about the United States as a major player in the end times. So many people would say, well, that's going to have to change, because right now the United States, for many decades now, has been the number one power in the world. The world's one of the world's superpowers, and then the world's lone superpower. The world international order, the economic order, the financial order, the geopolitical order is based on U.S. dominance. And if that dominance comes to an end, what replaces it? So this is a significant development to see all of this. We had, I believe it was the UAE, say that they would no longer accept dollars at all. So we're seeing this move rapidly. What will we see in the year ahead remains to be seen, but I'm not the only one that thinks this is significant. If you remember, Xi and Putin met back in March of this year and said they would be a part of changes not seen in 100 years. And of course, you'll notice this is from Al Jazeera. That's because I can't find mention of this meeting in the Western media. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but it's buried and I can't find it, which means most of the people in the United States and the Western nations probably don't even know this meeting took place, much less what was said there. But their purpose is to create a bipolar world order to push U.S. influence out of their areas of economic and military influence. And so this is, again, very significant from a prophetic standpoint. What else did we see in 2023? Well, we also saw the rise of AI. Lots of people talking about ChatGPT to start the year. People talking about artificial intelligence, wanting to worship artificial intelligence and chat with people from the past, looking to AI as their God, as their omniscient being. And of course, we know from a prophetic standpoint, AI most likely plays a prominent role in administering the Antichrist global government, because AI provides those capabilities. It provides the capabilities for the backbone of what could be the mark of the beast system, this ability to be able to track information globally, minute details and tidbits of information. All of those can be sifted through, sorted, categorized, and analyzed by AI in a way that it would take millions and millions of human beings to be able to do the same thing. So it's highly likely artificial intelligence plays a prominent role in the rise of the Antichrist, as does, I believe, this other technology. We're seeing the rise of drone warfare and drone swarms throughout 2023. We saw drones play a prominent role in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. We saw them play a prominent role in Hamas's attack on Israel and its ability to take out some of the border fence in Israel during that October 7th attack. We've also seen this article right here, this development back in August when the Pentagon announced this replicator initiative where they want to be able to launch thousands of drones simultaneously by land, sea, and air. They've talked about drone swarms, developing drones at low cost. We've seen on the battlefield, particularly recently, with the Houthi rebels attacking ships in the Red Sea, where they'll use a $20,000 drone in their attack, and it takes, $1 million missile from the United States to knock down that drone. And while often successful in doing so, that's not a $20,000 for $1 million. Doesn't take long. That helps create a parity between two nations that militarily shouldn't be at parity given the resources available to the United States. And so there's going to need to be a new form of warfare, moving away from these conventional forces that are very expensive, that take a long time in the development and planning stages, and moving to battlefield manufacturing of drones and drone swarms that can learn on the battlefield, adapt quickly, that are lower cost, even lower cost than that $20,000 drone, way lower. They're going to keep driving those costs lower. The drones will proliferate. They'll grow in power. They'll shrink in size. They'll grow in range. And so we're seeing this is how the battlefield is being transformed. And when we see the breakthroughs in technology that are over the horizon, they will one day give a nation or group of nations an overwhelming advantage on the battlefield, and they will be able to conquer the globe. And I believe not just be able to, but they will conquer the globe, because to not do so and allow a second power to come would be unthinkable. And of course, if we see that, which I believe we will, well, that would be right out of the book of Revelation. And we would see the global empire that is foretold in Revelation 13. So we're seeing right now technologies in the development stages that, if they are allowed to reach critical mass, will fulfill those end times Bible prophecies if they aren't fulfilled in some other way or through supernatural means. So this should give us reason to take pause and take note of the times in which we're living. What else have we seen? Well, we've also seen the proliferation of central bank digital currencies and countries pushing for the exploration of central bank digital currencies and the rollout of central bank digital currencies on the retail level. These are programmable and would give governments the ability to see into every financial transaction that takes place. It would give them the ability to control and place limits on those transactions, to cut off certain individuals from their ability to transact. And of course, we saw this year the Bank of International Settlements roll out Project Icebreaker, where they said, hey, if we want to be able to have two citizens from two different countries that want to trade with each other, well, we need to make sure we're building all these individual nations' central bank digital currencies to the same standard. And hey, we'll set the standard. It'll be a global standard, and we'll sort of control everything. Wouldn't that be great? So we're seeing the infrastructure being put in place for a system that's indistinguishable in function from the mark of the beast outlined in Revelation chapter 13. Now, that doesn't mean it is the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast requires, well, a beast. It requires the Antichrist. The Antichrist is not here. The mark of the beast rolls out at the midpoint of the tribulation period. We are not in the tribulation. As of this video, it has not begun yet. So we're some distance away from seeing the mark of the beast, but it's unlikely the mark of the beast system would just appear out of thin air from nowhere. The beginnings, the foundations of that are being laid now, beforehand, and we're seeing that with central bank digital currencies and things like Project Icebreaker. So we're seeing that, and when we see that, well, they're going to want to roll out this and control as many people as possible. No doubt about that. How do they plan to do that? Well, we've heard a lot about, the Great Reset. What is the Great Reset? Well, they know the current monetary system is coming to an end, and they would like nothing more than to replace it with Project Icebreaker and these central bank digital currencies. So what's that catalyst that we would need to see? And did we see anything like that in 2023? Well, yes, we did. If you remember, we've been talking about this. This is all the unrealized losses on bank balance sheets in the United States. But guys, no doubt about it, this is a global problem. It isn't just U.S. banks that look like this. And we saw the second, third, and fourth largest U.S. bank failures in history back in March in Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and First Republic. And we saw Credit Suisse, a global, systemically important bank, on the brink of failure until all the world's central banks came together with the Swiss government and had them bailed out and purchased by another bank, which, of course, I would wager is probably going to be in trouble sooner rather than later. So this problem hasn't gone away. The can's just been kicked down the road. We're seeing those problems start to appear now. We're going to see the system collapse. The global banking system is insolvent. The only way they can really keep this from blowing up, the only way that I can conceive that they could keep this from blowing up would maybe be if they just run the printing press and we get hyperinflation, which is its own problem. So there's no easy way out of this situation. I think they're going to let this system implode, fall apart, and then they'll come to the rescue with a new plan, this wonderful plan for central bank digital currencies. So either way, guys, we're seeing the conditions in place for the implementation of the system that, again, is indistinguishable in function from the mark of the beast. It's not the mark of the beast, but it sets the stage for it. And so, guys, those are just some of the things that we've seen this year. We don't have time to go into everything that we saw this year. We saw further strengthening of the Gog of Magog alliance outlined in Ezekiel 38 and 39. We saw Russia building more strategic ties with Iran, developing natural gas fields with Iran, trying to build an OPEC of natural gas with Iran. We saw them strengthening ties with Turkey. We saw them establishing naval ports and bases in Libya and in Sudan. So we're seeing all of the countries in the Gog of Magog alliance coming together. We saw them strengthen that alliance in 2023. I would expect to see that continue in 2024. What else did we see? We saw all sorts of evil and violence and rumors of war, Satan worship out in the open. We covered a number of those stories of just outright evil, worship of demons, worship of Satan. If you remember the Grammys and what took place at that, it's just no doubt about it, guys. We live in really evil times where we're just seeing society become more and more degenerate with each passing day, because this is what we would expect to see in these times. And of course, what else do we see? Well, we see people denying these signs, just as I call it, Peter's prophecy, where Peter said that people will say, people have been saying Jesus is coming back for generations and it hasn't happened yet. Things have continued on just like before. But of course, that's not true, because we're seeing the signs Jesus and the prophets said to look for over 90% of Christian history. None of the signs they said to look for were present. Zero. Today, all of them are in one form or another. So that should make us take note, as should when we talk about all the things that are happening, these global events on a global scale. When we think about the pandemic, when we think about in the past, it's been really decades since we had these global events like the Great Depression and World War II. We see the threat of these catastrophic global events, and we see the war in Ukraine and NATO and Russia coming head to head, and the United States, while we don't know publicly what DEFCON level they've been at, it's believed that we've been at level 3 for well over almost 2 years at this point, which is completely unprecedented. So we've been on the brink of nuclear war for almost 2 years. We have an insolvent banking system that could collapse and take down the global economy. We have wars and rumors of wars, possibly an expanded war in the Middle East, war with China and Taiwan, famines and starvation taking place in various parts of the world. And yet, what's going on? Most people are living their lives as if everything is completely normal, as if it's 5-10 years ago. This is business as usual. Nothing's changed. They aren't living as if any of these things could happen at any given time. And they certainly aren't living as if Jesus could return at any moment. Guys, that's what we should be doing. We should be telling as many people as possible about the hope we have in Jesus Christ. So, guys, what do you think? What do you think? Maybe I didn't cover what you thought was the most significant event of 2023. If so, leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought that was. And next video, God willing, we'll talk about maybe what's ahead in 2024. What are the areas that could be where major developments take place prophetically in 2024. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Make sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Have a happy new year, I guess. Well, I'll do the next video before the new year probably. So let me know what you think, and God willing, I will see you next time. Bye. If you want to learn more about the end times and Bible prophecy, make sure to sign up for my free monthly newsletter and get your copy of my free ebook, 7 Signs of the End Times. Just follow the link in the description to get your free book. Also, make sure to check out all of my books. Just look up Britt on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple iBooks, Google Books, Kobo, or anywhere books are sold. Thanks for watching today, and until next time, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith.